Well, there are parts of this game that are very, very much this kind of puzzle, direct competition, head-to-head, working against each other. And there are parts that can just be huge luck factors. The Axis has a tremendous chance of getting initiative here, 3 to 10. It wasn't to be. And that means the Allies can choose, one, to make a quick strike at these units. See, the Axis would have gotten a double turn if they take the initiative. And did they? Well, down here. And it gives the Allies a double turn instead up here, which really kind of is imperiling Sfax there. And maybe more than that. In the long run, certainly. So I think we're going to see the Allies taking the move this time. And what do they get other than piles of reinforcements? Yeah, I know I'm chattering more than I usually do here. We're looking at more than I usually do. We're going to get 2 and 1 French. A refit point. We get some trucks, right? But no additional air units. The trucks are going to be see, here's the thing. I don't know if the Allies should be getting air points for these things that they take. They're French owned, so in a sense it seems like that's the default, but securing those air bases was an important part of the campaign, so I almost feel like they should get points for it. However, the air points that they have available to use there, so that gets kind of skewed too. They probably shouldn't have any capability to fly planes in Tunisia until they start getting those. It should be 2 different tracks, but it's not. But we're not getting any additional air points at this point. In fact, air points are rare and hard to come by. I'll just play it the way I'm doing without changing more. But a lot of new troops coming in, which should be able to secure the supply path. And speaking of supplies, what did I say? 3 of them. Well, 2 of them I'm going to yank off here. I don't know where. Take these 2. And those will be coming in the Tunisia. One of those damn circled units. It's so hard to see that I had accidentally put over into here. I've got to keep an eye out for them. Well, it just replaced something now. It didn't replace the unit it's meant to replace. I think that one was destroyed. But given that almost all of the infantry seems to have been motorized, I found a unit that hadn't been motorized that probably was historically destroyed or pulled out, and replace that. Slightly better, but you know, what the hell, 1 strength point, because I think that the use of foot infantry doesn't make a lot of sense in this campaign. I think that was mainly going to be used as garrisons. Now, some of it I have, but I have a lot of it left, just because maybe I didn't get the right units to replace or whatever. So doing that doesn't hurt much, I guess. I'm still working over here. The Americans are making an attack here. Now, they've got a bit of a problem, which is if I supply all their units for combat supply, it's going to eat my forward dump. I've got 2 trucks going into that area, but I've got supply problems here where I can't really supply. Well, yeah, I don't think I have enough trucks. I think I only had 2 trucks, and I need to handle the supplies going through the center to take Sfax and launch up. I don't think I'm going to be attacking much here, so I'm kind of having to pull back to get in supply. This is 1, 2, 3, actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The French are going to have to pull their units back too. Oh, I have another dump. Oh, hell. I'm fine. I didn't realize I had that second dump. Okay, so I can actually push units forward a little bit from where they are. I didn't realize I had 2 dumps up there. That fixes most of my supply issues. I still might have to worry bringing this big stack of English units in. I just don't have enough capacity to handle them. But it's not like I want to bring them in a different direction, say coming from down here necessarily. I don't have tremendous supply down here, and I do really need to protect this area and keep the Axis concentrating on it so that a blow from the south is more effective. I also have to worry about what these Italians can do. I'm not quite sure what to do about them, but if I capture this dump, that'll solve some issues for me, I think. Well, odds weren't quite as good as I wanted, 3-1 with the without killing the dump. But I end up capturing this one. And remember, captured supply in this is no big deal. I can eat right off of it. I don't have to worry about these markers anymore. I could probably remove them, but might want the forced march markers. I'm not sure what good they do. They don't really serve a purpose except to fill countermix or something. So now the Germans took a retreat rather than trying to hold out to the last man. Had they gone for a holdout, they still would have lost all their units. So this seemed the more effective choice. I've pulled south. I'm not sure why. It doesn't really make too big a difference, except I don't have oh, I had to. I was being attacked from here. Yeah, I could have pulled up this way. So I went, no, I was being attacked from here. That's the problem. So I had to come down this way, which is not good. I would have rather retreated up to the north where, you know, I've got a nice little pocket and was planning on throwing more supply into that. Down here, I don't really have supplies until I reach way down. Now, luckily, I'm outside the weather zone. 1, 2, 6. I'm barely in supply there, so these guys are going to be out of supply. And that'll be you know, they can recover it fairly quickly, but I also have a limited amount of supplies that I can provide here. I've got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they can survive. I've got 5 motorized points that I can serve up from Tripoli there. So they'll bolster a line that's important, but I'm getting worried that I'm going to be defending Tripoli instead of up in Tunisia, that this cut across is going to maintain, and the Germans are in serious trouble in that case. On to the second action of the Allied phase here, into the motorized side of things. And this is really, you can see the Brits kind of held back here. They gave the Axis one opportunity to react, and they took it with an elite unit, just to provide them with a little bit of stretch back. It's not enough to really support them. They could be in real danger along this line here. There's, I don't think these guys project zones. I'm not sure. I know if they were parenthesized combat, they don't. I'm not sure if these damn things do, though. This game has a lot of little rolls. Zone of control rules are in here somewhere. I'm just not seeing them. That goes for both sets. Oh, they were right in front of me. No big shock. 0 stacking point units do not project a zone. So, yeah, that's not going to provide too much benefit there. These disrupted units don't have a zone. So I'm in danger of losing the whole pile here. I probably should have reacted with more units, but I didn't want to take the risk of depletions there. Game where segmenting the different theaters makes sense. I handled all this kind of separately. The U.S. managed to finish off the German units that were there. You get some disruptions here from the initial attack, which I made without full supply, but the secondary attack, I was able to cut the Germans out of supply and cut them off here. Now I'm set up, though, with the Commonwealth hitting here, and you can see I'm down to one table now. Got rid of that extra map. And in moving the table, it caused some dislocation. So I'll resolve those, but I expect to kind of take all of this out. I cut the retreat off here. These units have an opportunity to react, but no real reason to risk. Well, it's only disruption if I do, and I get some additional movement out of it. But the problem with disruption is, to recover it, I have to eat a supply unit, as the Germans. And, well, you know, if I save some of these units, a disruption's not that big a deal. So maybe I want that jump on movement, but given that it's only this stack and not this one, no, it looks like I got both of them. Yeah, I may do it and expend a supply unit, because I'm going to get some of these units out too, and I've got to undisrupt my army at some point. So I'll try to set up a position there. And in fact, well, these disrupted units can't react. These are just too precious for me to undisrupt these units right now. I don't have a chain going back to a home area where I can do it for free, and that's really a weird feeling of it. I'm not used to that with the Allies. I don't think I've played Trail of the Fox before, to tell you the truth. It's really beginning. I think I've set it up a couple of times with the campaign and given up the campaign there. Always been an interesting scenario for me, but I just didn't. I always wanted to do it as part of the campaign, and then ended up saying, the campaign's over. You know, well, this one was over, but it's still developing into an interesting little fight. Although this slice here is having more of an effect. In a sense, what happens on Desert Fox kind of stays there, in the sense that, no, I mean, you have an effect coming through, but if you're trying to win Desert Fox, you're not trying to win the combined games. And if you're trying to win the combined games, you're not playing historically anymore. And that's although if you end up bottling Alexandria up with your Desert Fox troops, you will probably be able to commit a significant force heading into Trail and be in better shape there. So, you know, if you win Desert Fox as a whole, you don't have to worry as much here. This is a really ugly situation. Anyway, I'm on to the Axis turn. I'm taking a lot of time on this one because I haven't played it. So maybe I'm actually being more careful. Anyway, over here, the Brits did throw a dump away. Hey, they don't care. They got so many here. And they get more as reinforcements if they need them. Basically, they have unlimited supply coming in through here, however you want to look at it. With the German withdrawals, they're going to have to just keep falling back, and you know, we'll see what they can escape with. Their goal in this game is not to keep their army intact, which is a little ahistorical. In reality, the withdrawal from Tunisia, creating the pocket in a sense, was almost an error. It would have been better if they could have figured out some way to just get out of there. But once you commit to it, holding the land was no longer really the goal. The goal became, how do I get this army out of here? You know, how do I get out without losing everything? And it was actually a masterful job getting out of there. And the delay was worthwhile too and important, but in the end it became extricating the Afrika Korps and throwing a lot more troops in to do trouble for the Axis here. Some of my units were drawing supply from Sfax, however that's pronounced. Oh, I have a port here. I didn't even realize about this one. Interesting. I'm not sure that I can maintain that defensively. But here's the problem. That means the one dump that I have here isn't sufficient for the units that I have. I have some 7 stacking points. I don't want to put units in supply during the initial movement phase, because then they won't be in supply for the second movement phase, and the dump will be destroyed. I pulled 2 new trucks in, so I've got enough supplies here. I really can't afford to defend this. So I think I'll stretch out my perimeter and try to defend a little section around Tunis itself there. Over here, I more or less need these dumps. I've got a couple more trucks in place, so I can conceivably, oh no, just one here. So I could conceivably replace one, maybe 2 of them. I gotta look at the numbers carefully to understand. But it's really becoming a rough task. Now, I brought all my units on. That might have been a mistake. I've got additional units here, essentially. That's 3 extra stacking points that I had available. But I want to try to set up as best as I can a defense against the British power here that is really quite impressive, and not get cut off. I got lucky here. Yes, I'm losing this unit, and I lost a few more, but these were kind of lost causes at that point. I got lucky in the sense that the way I was set up, the Brits couldn't hit in here very easily. So now I just have to keep pulling back, less and less defensible terrain, and the Brits are going to pound the crap out of it. But that's okay. The real big thing is, as long as I can hold Tunis through the 5 turns or whatever, through the first 5 turns, if I can get a good enough defensive structure in there, that's going to be tough to fight. If I can fall back far enough and find a line that I can defend at, I only need to hold 1 port. Gabes looks hard to take. I'm going to try with the U.S. forces. Tripoli, it's a long ways, a lot of terrain to fall back on if I carefully defend the line there, which is incidentally what High Command was trying to tell Rommel to do. And Tunis, another separate segment. Now this is not at all like the historical campaign. I'm broken into these little separate theaters, basically, that I'm trying to defend, as opposed to one big mass. But the Allies have to allocate perfectly, essentially. There's no choice in. And I think they've got whatever ground they can gain on that. It's just a matter of slowing them down. Can I slow them down enough to hold Tripoli? Probably not, but maybe long enough to hold Gabes. So it comes down to 2 battles that have to be fought. A little one here, but if I commit too much to this with the Allies, then taking Tunis might be too difficult. Anyway, that's the position we're in right now. I'm going to play the Axis out. And we move to the next turn. The Axis forces stretching out along the road. Not a perfect solution. There's no question they're going to keep being forced back. I used the forward dump, which I think was actually under here, or near here somewhere, in order to recover from my disruption results. Had to do that. There's no way I can hope to defend at half strength. This is very weak as it is. It could be the Brits just overrun this position. I couldn't withdraw though. I could have withdrawn back to here maybe, and given up another dump. That would be as far as I could go. And I don't know which way to look at things, because I need 3 dumps to operate, and that's what I have in the Tripoli area. These, I didn't place them. They didn't really matter because I'm not attacking. I'm just building a shell around Tunis here. And over here I've got my line entering into Libya. And kind of the best I can hope for is to delay and win somewhere. Just I'm not sure quite how, to tell you the truth. This is the most promising because I've got the weather line to protect me for a while. So the only real attack we had is down here. The Brits set themselves up and the Germans withdrew just a little bit. Sort of a probing attack. I can't really get a good grip on this stack. Now, if I hit it all out, it probably doesn't have, not stack, but this line, it probably doesn't have enough supply. If I look at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. These guys are kind of a problem. I'd kind of have to hit it front on, and then it could just fall back again and take a disruption. 14 or so, you know, I can supply that. The question is 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. No, I'm not going to. 12 is where I end. So I'm not going to be able to hit more than the two depots that I have down here, which means I'll be forcing them to eat depots or not take supply. But I could just be forcing them to fall back. If they fall back, it's no harm to me. I gain some ground. I gain more ground than I'm gaining with these little probing attacks. And over here, the U.S. forces are gathering, and I'm getting a truck here and a truck here pulling back. This one goes all the way, oh well, I may have to pull it back to go all the way back to here to draw supply from further back to try to launch an attack on here, because this also doesn't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. Much supply. And here we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I think total. There's only 1 0 there, so that's not going to cause any problem. So 10 supply, I can supply all that, but again, it would eat the supply dump. Which if I hit everything all at once, I will have either wiped out all the supplies here or gained some ground. Either one's a good thing. Hard to tell which I want to do. That's the real problem with the whole thing, because if the Axis has to eat this supply dump, as an example, they can't really get supply to those troops anymore. They'll have to land a new truck here. Well, that truck, they may be able to extend, they may have supply, but then they'll be tracing it off this dump here. They just, with only 3 dumps in that entire region, they just don't have enough to fuel fighting. So I think I do want to attack. Up here in Tunisia, because of the weather effect, I'm not really thrilled with it. I'm kind of pushing the French forward to get me into a position where at least I'm kind of blocking things off so that this Tunisian, the city of Tunis defenses really can't be extended. No kind of surprise attack against the U.S. troops that would be of any value. It's not like I don't have supply coming from a different direction anyway. Cutting this supply line wouldn't be absolutely devastating. Meanwhile, the Brits are gathering up quite a powerful force. It's pretty clear that that's going to break after next turn. The forces just aren't there to hold it, but it's always hard for me to... So the thing with attacking, say, en masse here, it's always hard for me to make that kind of attack decision where, yeah, I know I'm attacking at bad odds, except I know he doesn't have quite enough supply, that he can't afford to fight this. But that's the kind of thinking that this game requires. You're not going to be able to breach a line that's well supplied, but if a strong line, and this isn't that terribly strong, but it's strong enough that I'm having trouble getting anything like decent odds against it. Anyway, I'll think some more and figure out what I'm doing. In all cases, I'm treading cautiously. I just don't feel like I have the force to win the big battle. I probably do with the supplies, but that's not how my mind works. So I push further, take out one anti-air unit that the Germans had disrupted, but otherwise they retreated. I was kind of hoping they wouldn't retreat because they did have to defend that, but the truth of the matter is that thing's worth sacrificing in exchange for, along with territory, in exchange for keeping the army alive a little longer. I'm playing just a delaying game with the Axis here. Likewise here, I just could not get a grip with the amount of supply I have. I have some dump conversion. I can't undisrupt this unit. Things are too slow. I just don't have the supplies. I think I'm going to be able to get a win, just not a massive win. Well, turn 6 gets me a substantial. I don't think I can do that, but I might get turn 7. But that's cutting it pretty close. This is turn 4. Next turn's turn 5. Still, the Tunisia issue is in place. Still, I haven't broken this line. And if anything, it's going to be in a better place next turn. Well, not too much better, because we still have this dump to protect. I can convert that to a truck. 2 dumps is enough, I think, for my army. Plus, I might have more supplies coming in at the end, that I can convert to more dumps at the end of the turn to make up for that. But I got to protect the trucks moving back. I've got to keep that position in line. This is just, really tough to hit. This, again, hitting it would be an attempt to drain Axis supply, but taking a bad attack or taking a so-so attack against a fortified position. Not a good one at all, because the Wadi here, I'd have to cross this with at least one of my 2 stacks. I can't get a 3rd stack into play because I don't have the supplies in place yet. Meanwhile, my French are mainly infantry, so they haven't been able to move forward as quickly, so I had to stay back here with my little armored cap. So things are open here. I just I pushed the truck into the into that location there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That is no longer in supply, but that's okay. I had the supply when it counted at the beginning of my movement. Now I get to convert it to a dump, and now it'll be a supply source up there. Likewise, I think this one actually I could push forward and turn that into a dump for next turn. That sounds good. I don't know when I'm going to be able to try to get a grip on the attack, but it's a tough game to do it. Allies probably let a golden opportunity pass by not launching the attacks, because now there's 3 more trucks in play. A lucky roll for the Axis. They had some unlucky ones. You got to take advantage of the opportunities you have. At this point, the Axis probably is going to be a lot stiffer opposition, just because they do actually have some supplies now. It's going to be harder to drain those supplies to hurt them. As we get to the end of February here, this was when the Axis great trap was sprung, right? The position looks completely hopeless, but not for victory in the game, just a hopeless position. Then again, Tunisia sort of is anyway. You have this, not a lot of change really, but you have this perimeter here that I don't know how well I'm going to be able to hold it, but it takes a few turns to reduce something like that. And we don't have good turns, right? Turn 6 and 7 are the only, are when the good weather is that I can still get any kind of victory with the Allies. Here at the Gabes line, that's still pretty solid. I'm expecting the Americans will be able to knock that out of position. I think the U.S. Inexperience actually disappears. Certainly by turn 6 it's gone. Not that they've done a lot of fighting. But, you know, they're drilling better. And then over here, this is, you know, I just don't see how I'm going to collapse this. Not just in 2 turns, but at all. You know, I'll be able to hit it. A move into here will actually trap these pieces, which indicates a defect in the German line. That's a problem, but, you know, because I was kind of counting on those extra units fortifying along this wadi and just allowing them to be pushed back further and further. That may still work. It's just I'm not going to be able to get an easy escape from here. I've got artillery and such not. I had to be in this hex because that's where the truck is, but could I extend out another hex? Why not? And that gives me a better shape. This infantry, unfortunately, I moved into place beforehand. I'm still looking for my refit points, though, so I'll do those and then go putz about and come back. The Axis is actually going to force the Commonwealth to go first in order to prevent a double turn from happening. That's the main thing they're worried about. Starting next turn, the Axis starts not getting control, and we really don't want to see the Allies punch an attack and then immediately get a follow-up in addition to the normal reaction movement. They could destroy an entire line with that kind of combination if it's done right. Unlikely, but that would be one thing that could really hinder the defensive position that I'm in right now. So that's what I'm going to try to avoid. I might not be able to avoid it in these 2 turns. The Brits may choose to go second and then first here, assuming they get the initiative. But, well, you control what you're able to control, and pushing it out a turn further can only help. Not looking like a good turn for the Allies. So far, a push forward for the Brits. Nothing too unexpected. They couldn't quite get the lock that they wanted on this unit. Presumably, they could hit it from across the wadi. I don't know those half hexes, but the half hexes count, right? Yeah. What about the ones under the combat results? No. This should give enough movement in this particular case anyway. But they launched an attack on the front end here, and that pulled back as expected. May have suffered a disruption in there. But then the U.S. launched its major attack, and they did some damage, there's no question, but nowhere near what they took. Everything's been depleted and disrupted and flung back, and we had to lose a supply depot in order to make the attack. And it just, you know, before, when there was only one dump, we had a shot. And not much of a shot this time. Remember, there's a shift against the U.S. troops. Firing across the wadi from basically this hex alone into there, and then these 2 hexes into there. This one actually got a pretty iffy die roll, while this one got a good die roll, and that's why both sides are, you know, kind of damaged there. But that was not a good attack at all. And now I've got to try to reorganize what I'm going to do with the Americans there. Some. Oh, those look like Germans, don't they? Shit. I can't tell. Actually, I'm not sure what they are. Shit. I got no idea what these are. I don't know if they're not the same color as the Germans. I think they're closer to the U.S. color, but they look like some sort of mishmash between them, and I got no idea. Maybe there's a manifest that'll tell me. There's certainly a counter manifest, but that's not going to really help, I don't think. The U.S. has some things like this. What's the 1 TD? Yeah, that looks like it's French. My guess is it's American and not well distinguished, but it's hard to tell. You know, I don't have the color differentiation there to be certain of it. There might be games often have an indication of what all the units are, but I don't think this one does. I don't believe it does. All right. Well, we're going to assume that's an American unit. And they need the help. Anyway, we'll move on with, I guess, the second turn, trying to recover from whatever happened here. And we may have some serious supply problems if we want to remove those disruptions. We can't remove the depletions even though we have a pile of refit points. We weren't using the refit points for the US because they hadn't been in any bad combats, but it looks like we have a use for them now. And then more likely to give me some sort of moderate success is pushing on the Germans here. But I'll tell you, keeping Rommel in Libya, even though maybe overall if you look at, you know, what kind of possibility the troops might have in terms of winning this game, doesn't seem like a terribly bad idea. It's very hard to push a force of any significant size beyond, you know, a small retreat at each time. And this game requires you to grab lots of territory as the Allies at once. For all the pain involved, losing an MSU to get rid of all these disruptions. Not the German ones. Let me make sure this isn't overstacked. Looks okay. These glossy counters are too slippery. They fall off each other more easily than the original ones. Anyway, for all the pain that was involved in the Gabes line, the second group of units, which may or may not be US, managed to clear the last unit. It withdrew the armor here. It was very, very overmatched, and with disrupted enemies, it couldn't actually receive any reinforcements. So the only question was, do I get out? And meanwhile, the Germans also pulled away. They sacrificed another unit. Pretty common factor there. It was a decent unit, I think this motorized infantry. But the thing is, this is never going to get pushed back all the way to Tripoli the way the Brits are going. And an all-out attack isn't going to do any better. If the Brits have a chance of winning the all-out attack, the Germans will withdraw all their units. In fact, the situation that I kind of regretted not attacking, that's all it would have done. It would have sped this retreat up a little bit. Maybe killed a couple of units that got disrupted in the retreat, overrunning, well, not overrunning, but being able to pick them off because they can't retreat again the second time. Here, is this going to get all the way to Tripoli? There's a lot of turns, and Tripoli's all that has to fall. That's what these U.S. troops are assigned. Take Tripoli. They might be able to. And if that's the case, well, Rommel obviously will have to create a little bubble around Tripoli instead of trying to prevent the Commonwealth. And that's a lot of troops coming in. By the way, this poor thing, this used to be a perfectly fine Commonwealth unit, and now it's French. And therefore creates a nationality difficulty. That's actually not unreasonable, but it's one of the reasons to do the conversions. Speaking of French, over here, the French took the penalty for the lack of supply. I was able to keep this supply point. I changed my mind as to what I was keeping, but I ended up destroying one that the French needed, and now we have more in place. With the good weather coming, we should have no real difficulties. There's not enough power down here to be able to launch a real attack against the Americans. I can't risk launching an attack out of Tunis. I think I have a fair chance of holding Tunis maybe till the end of the game. but certainly through turn 7. And that's kind of the situation we're in, is that the Germans are playing for time. They're not going to lose Tripoli, I think, in the next 2 turns, but I don't know. There's a lot of movement ability. You know, these Americans could actually sling in. They don't have to be in supply to take it. So I've got to be very careful here to interdict more than just the road, perhaps, because how far am I? 1, 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 26, 28, 30, 34, 38, 42, 44, 48, 49, 50, 51. That's not a lot. These guys can force march if they're in supply. That's the problem. They have, in order to take Tripoli, they have to be in pretty good shape beforehand. And then, what if they don't get the supply point there? So, the only thing is, though, that it's fairly easy. At Gabes, it's very easy to defend this line. Once I get past Gabes, there are opportunities to slip around that are going to make for real difficulty. So I don't know if I can hold Tripoli. It may come down to Tunisia and whether the Brits and French support can force their way in there. Because there ain't much else. I mean, this, I think, is still... I don't know whose that is. I don't know if anybody ever went there. The Germans drove through it at the very least. So that's a German city at this point. Nothing else really is there for them. All right. I'm trying to hold the Gabes line. Not directly. I couldn't launch an attack on the Americans there. But I pulled back. What was neat about where I pulled back to, I could take this dump out, and I actually moved a couple of disrupted units off of the eastern line and was able to undisrupt them from that same unit. This unit couldn't quite make it. I'm holding it in reserve, figuring it can move somewhere and be able to do the same kind of, undisruption with a bunch of other units that are damaged, because supply is so important to me at this point. I barely got this line in supply. I feel like I've got the Commonwealth cut off here, but I can't really spare too many troops, although I can spare the crap that I sent this way. Because I can't spare much, and I landed stuff in Tripoli and Gabes and filled in this line with a little bit more strength, I don't think, cut this with what I have currently. So what I'm hoping is that the U.S. enables me to fall back to that with a couple new units that I built out of my dead pile. At 2 points each for motorized infantry, that's pretty cool. I'll have some replacement points that I can upgrade them with, and those are really powerful units. So I might actually be able to try to defend this line. Tunis, I can't afford to throw anything more into Tunis. I only got one supply unit that ended up here with the hope of either, defending a line here or whatever, and trying to slow the Americans up, because if I can't stop them with these troops, Tripoli falls. Everything falls over down here, essentially. There's no hope. If I get bottled without a port, my only hope is to retake the port. Up here, well, I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope I can hold out. But there's a lot facing me with the Brits. Kind of unfortunately, the Brits are up in that northern area. Yeah, I've got, dumps exposed. But if I go out on some kind of expedition, it's just going to lose me units that I need for later. That I need on the defense. So I'm hoping to hold as much as I can. I can't close this off, although maybe I could shift some forces. It looks like I have a lot down here. Let's shift an armor. Over here. And the anti-tank up here. I think that's probably wise. I don't know. You know, I mean, you create too weak a spot and even the French can punch through, or a portion of the Americans could shoot up that way. Who knows? Because there's not a lot facing them here. Of course, they are very weakened. They're all depleted now, basically. You can't tell with the artillery, but the other units are. All right, since this is the end of the bad weather period, we're going to close this one off in March, and then we'll do, you know, a final one for the spring and summer. Oh, if it goes that far. We'll see how long the Germans can hold out.